I don't know if this is the right place to post this, but I just need to share. It started with the move. I wanted to get away from the city, from the noise, from people. I wanted to leave the apartment we had. Looking around at the apartment, memories would drift into my view like a black mist, creeping into my vision. Memories of times I spent with her, joyous ones, uncomfortable ones, painful ones, all bringing in with the feeling of a hollowness, a darkness, an unrelating pain. Losing a loved one is the most painful thing one can go through. A child, a parent, a close friend, a wife. I lost myself for a while. I'd find myself curled up on the sofa, clean sheets of our bed, crying harder than I thought possible, unsure of how long I'd been there. I didn't eat, but I drank. It was the only way I could put myself to sleep, to embrace the comfort of darkness. My phone had been ringing all hours of the day. My parents eventually called the police. They broke the door down to find me huddling on the floor, clutching a bottle, next to a pile of my own vomit. I thought of suicide, but I didn't want anyone to feel how I was feeling then. I still see her face sometimes, a glance out of my peripheral vision, but accompanied by something much darker. But now's not the time for that. I left our New York apartment in September. I was a trader at the firm my father is the CEO of. I won't tell you which one for obvious reasons. It was small, but I had too much money. I still feel guilty that we didn't lead a simpler life, happier, out somewhere upstate. We talked about it, but we never did it. I met her at a bar of all places. She came from a poor family, and my parents weren't exactly thrilled with our marriage. But I didn't believe in love until I met her. She was everything to me. I felt that she wanted me to move upstate, to find a new wife, start a family, and live for the both of us. I sublet the apartment we had in Manhattan that I'd been given by my father as a wedding gift. I know what you're probably thinking about me, and I think a lot of you would be right. I don't consider myself a bad person. I was respectful and loving to my wife, compassionate to my friends, but I was a ruthless asshole in my job. Traded whatever would make the firm the most, ignoring what I was contributing to. As I said, I feel guilt. I quit soon after she died, my father buying me out. I drove upstate, found a real estate agent, and bought a house. I got our best furniture moved up. I drove the important stuff up myself. It's a gorgeous property, 125 acres, lots of trees, and even a brook running through the woods. The house was the real prize though. Very old, red brick, accented with a wraparound porch, French windows painted white, and even a wrought iron balcony. Inside there are 3 bedrooms, 2 fireplaces, a living room, lounge, dining room, a beautiful kitchen. It is very cozy. However, this house made the grief much worse back then, as you'd imagine. I had enough savings to live a comfortable life, all the way to the end, but it felt like it was already over. Boxes littered the living room, surrounding the couch I slept on. After a couple of months, I was functioning, barely. I could manage to get food, and even cook for myself some nights. I watched old movies on my phone after the Wi-Fi was set up, and read as much as possible. Only books I'd read before though. I didn't need anything new, anything unexpected that might have pushed me over the edge. It was a cold night in December when I first encountered it. I was laying on the couch in front of the fire, reading an old fantasy novel I liked as a kid. I had a glass of whiskey next to me, but this is one of my stable days, if you could call it that. I heard something in the sink in the kitchen fall over just opposite of me, and as I lowered the book from my eyes, I caught a glimpse of her face. For a split second, I felt her, and I felt a small warmth. Rushing now, I raised the book a bit lower, but she was gone, but replaced with something else. My heart felt like it had been ripped from my chest. I felt hollow. I felt lost and depressed and hopeless, like I'd never feel happy again. And I saw it. It was blacker than black. It seemed to absorb all the light around it, its shape cut into space itself. It looked like her. It had her shape. No features. But I could see her flowing hair, and I dropped my book and screamed. I screamed like I never screamed before. Tears rushed from my eyes as I fell off the couch. Getting up and moving away, looking at the thing. It started to walk closer to me, threatening me with its shadow. I wanted it to stop. I wanted it to go. I shouted at it to leave, to go. I shoved it, and it just ran into me. From 3 feet away, it felt like being hit by a freight train. I brought my arms up, but it was a futile attempt. It slammed into me, knocking me back into the wall. I felt its darkness, its hollowness. It struck me in the chest, over and over. I thrashed my arms to get it to stop, but the harder I fought back, the harder it hit me. With every hit, I felt all the pain I had felt since her death, all at once. I had no will to live anymore. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to die. I stopped moving and looked up at it. It was standing there, looking at me with non-existent eyes. Through all the pain and all the grief, I don't know why I did what I did next. Maybe it was because I wanted to die. Maybe it was because it had her form. It all felt too familiar. I stood up and embraced the blackness. I felt like I was falling through a huge void, flailing my limbs as I tried to hold on to something that could stop this pain. And then, a light. The dark figure stepped back as I saw a light forming in the center of its dark face. It was her. I reached out and felt it. There was pain, but also something that could be called happiness. It was painful, but there nonetheless. The darkness started to shift and then just evaporated. That night was 3 years ago. I'm doing well now. I met a lovely woman and I plan on asking her to marry me. If you told me that night this is where I'd be, I wouldn't have believed you. Maybe you don't even believe me, but I've had help. I saw the dark figure more and more after that. Every time we would embrace, and that light inside it grew larger and larger. And now I don't see the dark figure anymore. I see my wife, as beautiful as the day I met her. I still cry. I still hurt, but that blackness has been reduced to a mere shadow. engulfing me every time I see it. My shadow, my darkness. But even when the shadow's there, I smile because I know the light is her. As more time passes and I move on with my life, the shadow has been shrinking. That shadow is becoming less and less of me. A bitter part and otherwise happy memories I have of me and her. Of us. Shout out to my superfans, Sweet Black Swan, Casey, and Brooklyn. I really appreciate you guys supporting my channel, and I really look forward to making more content for everyone.